Morning, everyone. Happy Friday, wherever you are right now in the world. I am so glad that you're here, getting ready for our live session. This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're not, welcome back. Getting ready to do what we do best, bring the clarity we need to go ahead and stay on top of the bull of all bulls and ride it with laser precision. Here we are at Bitcoin trading at $40,610, slightly unchanged on the day, barely up on the day. Let's call it unchanged. Let's jump down to the 8-hour over here. Just get a little bit of a peek. We can see that we've broken this trend line, have not yet really extended over it. We have not yet made, the comment was brought up over there. I love to see it over here. We have not made a higher high. I believe it's on 6 days now, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, going on 7 days. We have yet to make a higher high on the daily time frame. It was 1 week ago Friday here together that I said to you, listen, I'm not sure what's going on. I am neutral. Now, that did not mean that I sold my core position. My stop loss is 0, but I said something is not right. I am not sure what's going on. That's around the time that we went ahead and we added in this trend line over here. It's the first time that we've broken above it. I'm hanging out over here on the 2-hour, right? You could see for the precision, and you could see on the 2-hour over here that like we peaked above it, right? Just to focus on the technicals with me for 1 second over here together. We broke above it, never had any follow through. Then again, we broke above it again. We even closed above it, came back in for this retest. Now coming up without making that higher high. On the 8-hour we did though. We made a beautiful higher high over here, right? And now it's come back again. Price stabilizing, consolidating overnight over here. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Now, does that mean that we're looking like this looks bullish? You should jump in. We have clarity. This is going to be a quick, sharp, nothing like that at all. Yesterday's session was so important. Yesterday's session was probably the most important session to date. We gave the clarity we need to go from here, watching all sides, what would be next, watching what would happen if we do have a quick recovery, what that would mean, what that would look like, watching if this was indeed a distribution event and we're looking at prolonged sideways and even lower price action, when we could first recognize that, what that would mean, so we could prepare ourselves, and more than anything, mentally. All right, we're going to put it all together today. This is going to be a very important session as well, because we're going to be looking at the 4-year cycle. We're going to be looking at our projected cycle top dates, just to make sure that everyone continues to have that focus that I have. We're going to look at some other different alternative ideas as well. I'm not here to do anything but bring clarity for myself and for those watching. I'm definitely not here to talk about anyone else's theory or anything like that. You should consult all opinions, especially if they're coming from Conquering the Markets. You should consult all opinions so that you're aware of all sides and that you're able to go ahead and form your own. That's what an informed trader does. But yesterday, right? William tweeting over here, traders have been net short since yesterday's dip. Very important over here. If you look at the glass node, if you look at the perpetual funding rates, you could see during that massive sell-off, you see that traders are now net short the market. Funding rates are negative. It's kind of important over here that you get a nice, beautiful lesson in market psychology over here. Jordan, if you look at perpetual funding rates, right? If 30,000 truly was the bottom, we're going to see a huge short squeeze if spot pushes price up high enough, right? And then building on top of that, well, if we get a huge short squeeze, it would then cause all those who have taken the price will now trade sideways approach, and it's going to cause them to FOMO in, sending it even further. Market psychology, some nice stuff over there to be aware of. And what does that mean? And what does that look like? And when would the people that are right now sideways be FOMOing back in, right? You listen, we've already looked at the case of what it's good, and we're going to look at it further in this session. We're going to look at it further. Sorry about that. Hold on one second. I need to do that. Boom. We're going to look at it further in this session, but that's not until later on in the session. Okay. Right now, what I want to go ahead and draw this trend line in with you. We got to find the flow. I can't get the flow if I don't see the thumbs flying up in the air. Let's go ahead and smash the like button and get going here on this Friday. Make sure that we walk away from this Friday a little bit clearer than when we got started. Looking forward to recording later this afternoon with Brandon, Crypto Trades and Tech, putting together a CTM training session. When it's going to be released, I don't know. I want to be there with the latest it will be released will be Monday. The latest it will be. By the way, update on the wife. She saw the doctor yesterday. 3 centimeters dilated. Next appointment's on Tuesday, if she makes it that long. Thank you so much for everyone, for all of your thoughts and prayers. We are so grateful. We are so grateful and thankful for that. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look over here. Look, I guess I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to throw a level out to you right now of when I think that people right now who are looking for that possible. By the way, there are a lot of people right now who are shaken and scared, and rightfully so. There's no problem with that. That's not a good. I'm sorry that you're feeling those types of emotions. Right now, you have people who right now are just like, okay, I understand what's going on over here. I'm buying the dip, and that's fine also. Or people who are like, listen, everyone I know, they're out there buying the dip. I don't know what you're talking about. People are short the market, or people are in the sidelines. Listen, I don't know who your circle is, and that's fine. And if your circle is just like all people who have the same understanding as you, and maybe are Bitcoiners who have been around for a few cycles, of course, I understand how you approach the market. You say, but the reality is that yesterday's event was not normal, right? Was it 2 days ago now? Is it 2 days? Wednesday's event was not normal. To have a 53% correction in a bull market is absolutely abnormal. Absolutely abnormal. It's actually outside of after the first blow off top in 2013, the first time it's ever happened. Okay? So, going forward, where are we? Where are we, friends? I don't know, but I know that I got a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful episode to share with you and a lot to cover. So we're not going to be in any rush. We're going to make sure that we cover it. All right. I want to draw in this trend line over here right now. I think I'm looking like this. You ready? I'm looking right now at where people who are taking the approach. I wanted to affirm, if that's what your approach is right now, right, that you are looking for further clarity, you are absolutely doing it right. Do not worry about it, right? Now, I myself, who did not plan on buying any more Bitcoin this cycle, right? That's changed for me. For me, it's an opportunity. There are a couple of ways to look at this. There's many ways to look at this. We're gonna look at the various different views over here in order to help you form what you believe is your own. And now I will absolutely continue to let you know what my own personal view is, right? Don't follow me blindly, but definitely do consult anyone that you believe can help you firm up your own. Okay. Right now, I believe anyone who's taking that approach that we're in for a prolonged sideways price action over here after this distribution event, right? This Wyckoff distribution. They don't go through all of this 3-month period to send it down and spike it back up, right? If we spike up, everyone that thought this was a Wyckoff distribution event is going to have to say, okay, well, it wasn't. That's for sure. At the same time, as you know from yesterday's episode, that myself is going to be very clearly looking to see if we do enter any time. Right now, we're over here. We're starting the bounce, right? If we peak out and come back down, make a lower low, at that point, I'm going to have to say, very clear to me that I'm leaning now towards, option B, and that we're headed for some sideways price action over here. Probably even going to put in a lot more pain as we come in for the spring test, right? Right now, we're just over here. It's too soon to tell one way or the other. I'm prepared for both. But at what point with those, right? Oh, I just gave you, there's the tell right there. I just told you if we come back down and make a lower low, at that point, we'll have to lean towards option B. Where do people who are leaning towards this option right now have to lean towards option A, that we're going to see actually a V-shaped recovery, right? At that point, I believe it's going to have to be when we break above this trend line. You could see also we have some horizontal resistance right around $53,000, right? At that point, breaking back above this trend line, back above the horizontal 5,300, at that point, I think a lot of people that have taken that sideways approach are going to have to be like, And I think at that point, they're going to be adding, and to get us there, by the way, to get us here, and people are wondering, who are the buyers down here? If you look on chain, the wallets that added the most, yes, the last 2 days, this was bought up by on-chain analytics by William using Glassnode. The wallets that bought the most Bitcoin the last 2 days were wallets holding between 100 and 1,000 Bitcoin, not retail, if you want to know who was buying down there, right? So either which way, what would propel us to come up even test this area, right? What would propel us to test around, between 46,000 and call it 53,000? That would be short covering. If spot starts rising, people who have gotten themselves following momentum short, if you were shorting over here, if you understood this was a possible Wyckoff distribution event way early and were preparing yourself, right? Then you're on point. You're not chasing momentum. You are preemptive momentum. You are crushing it. But if you went short down here yesterday, obviously you're chasing momentum. And then if price starts spiking up, you got to cover your short. That propels the buying move upwards. If we get to a certain level, all of a sudden you're going to have a new group of buyers step in. Who are those new group of buyers? Those who got themselves sidelined to protect themselves, rightfully so. They're going to have to look at the market and they're going to be like, wait a second, this is not what I expected. And they're going to have FOMO. That's what FOMO is, the fear of missing out, right? And they're going to jump back into the market, perhaps propelling it even further. By the way, you also have people who are quite bullish right now, understanding that we are mid-cycle. And once they see that correction up here, they're going to feel a lot safer about buying, myself included. When I say that this is the first time that I'm looking to buy over here mid-cycle, was not planning on doing it, right? That includes whether we're down over here. By the way, if we do go lower and take out this low, and at that point, I think that you know what? I think it's option B. And we're going to be going sideways for a while. How long that could be, right? This was about a 3-month event. Do we think it'll be another 3 months? Possibly. 3 months. That would be grueling for a lot of people. That would be grueling for a lot. That would be painful for a lot of people. But at that point, I would be using that as a place to continue to accumulate. Why? Do I think that the case for Bitcoin has been lost? Not even close. The case for Bitcoin gets stronger and stronger each and every day as we see the monetary base continue to grow and grow and grow. Fiat being devalued, central bank system continuing to create inequality across the world. People are looking for an escape. This is the moment Bitcoin was created for. This is the moment. I saw Ben Shapiro just before I got online. Someone on Twitter posted a video. They didn't know that he was a Bitcoiner. And he's saying the whole reason I'm a Bitcoiner is for when governments come against it. That's the whole case for Bitcoin right there. Anyway, I digress, but let's keep going over here. This was what happened yesterday, an anomaly. A 54% drawdown in a bull market. Unless you think, now I don't know anyone calling the top outside of Peter Brand. I showed you yesterday, Peter Brand said this is the top of the Bitcoin bull market. Now, when I look at my team over here, and you have people calling, no one's calling the top, right? People are saying that, you know what, we might see some prolonged sideways price action from here, right? They're still looking, whether it's September, at whatever point, a few months from now, 4 months from now, 5 months from now, price going higher, right? How much higher it goes than here, that's a different story. But no one I know is calling the top, right, over here. This is, in my opinion, and I feel strongly about that. We're going to look at what Willy Woo shared this morning, talk about that towards the end of this episode. This is mid-cycle over here. This is a bull market. This is a massive drawdown over here. It reminds me of what happened during the crisis, the liquidity crisis, when price saw, it took a few days longer to play out over here, but price saw an anomaly, a 63% drawdown over here. Now, what happened if you want to go back to a similar event? If you want to go back to a similar event and look what happened and how long it took the price to recover. By the way, I feel strongly talking about it because as that event unfolded, right, as we saw that massive shakeout occur, I was right there with all of you. I called it out. I called it out as an anomaly. I said, and not only that, from at that point on, as we started using that as an event to go ahead to accumulate further and more, a gift was the way we viewed it, which is the way I view it right now. I'm not saying that we can't go lower. If you don't think that we could go lower and you have that type of confidence, I mean, that's something else. That's not what I have, for sure. Either which way, not only that, I talked about us reclaiming this trend line. After we reclaiming this trend line, to a T. And by the way, of course, everyone who's here understands and know, right? Right over here, I definitely had an error. I thought this was the V. I thought this was the bottom of the beginning of the parabolic move. No question about that. Over here yesterday, Ted shared with me, using the timestamps of all the messages shared inside the Discord, that when I started saying, last week, something's not right, something's off, I don't know what it is, that he started looking at the charts, he started paying attention, and he shared a message, right? I think it's on the 12th. I have all of the messages and the timeline in which it happened that Ted shared with me yesterday, and he said, and he put out there on Discord, listen, it looks like we're about to have the mid shakeout dip ahead of it. Now, not one of us thought it would be a 53% drawdown. That obviously came from the excess leverage in the system, which, by the way, has been wiped out. It has been wiped out. We are back neutral. That is healthy, painful, but healthy. All right. So anyway, I wanted to point out my mistake for sure. But that mistake aside, right? That mistake aside, did you remember when Bitcoin was at 13, 14,000? How I made sure everyone got positioned, letting you know the risk was the upside. into that $19,000, $20,000 area. And then if price only pulled back 16%, I made sure everyone got fully positioned and long and back. The only way that I've been able to navigate price so extraordinarily well this whole cycle has been relying on the past cycles and where we're at and what the expectations were. That has not changed for myself one bit whatsoever. It's very clear to everyone that I'm watching what would an event that would change things, right? And when we change things, is it possible that we are entering a super cycle? A super cycle, by the way, could be prolonged sideways price action. A super cycle doesn't mean that we have to trade above $800,000. A super cycle would mean, that we don't peak at the timing of the 4-year cycle. And we're going to look exactly where I believe that is today. That has changed. We're going to look at the expected range. I know a lot of people for a long time understood that I was targeting somewhere around the end of September the 21st. I have always said that I am a student of the market. I am not just going to put something out there and stick to it. If the market is showing me different, I'm going to adjust myself always. And I'm going to show you what is leading me to adjust myself, just so everyone watches is on the same page as myself. All right, let's keep going. Let's see where we are. Talking about the anomaly, obviously we know what happened over here. We did have a quick recovery, right? How long is that what we're going to see happen over here? Is that my base case? Obviously you all know that and why. Look, I love this. Benjamin shared this poll yesterday and he said, when do you think Bitcoin will hit a modest $100,000? The reason I like seeing this poll is because I like seeing where other market participants' heads are, right? So when you're looking at this, by the way, you basically have two lines of thought, right? People who think that that's going to happen in 2021, or people that think that would happen in 2022. If that happens in 2022, we are in a super cycle. The 4-year cycle has basically is broken. There's no question about that. There are many different signs along the way when we'll find out whether or not the 4-year cycle is broken. Well, look, this is one of those instances. There's nothing wrong with it if the 4-year cycle breaks. We want to know when it breaks so that we can continue to know why and position ourselves accordingly. By the way, if you think that the 4-year cycle is going to break and that in 2022, we're going to be trading above $100,000, are you a buyer of Bitcoin here? Right? By the way, we had a 53% drawdown. The max drawdown of Bitcoin since inception has been 85%, right? It's never traded lower than that since inception. That would take us all the way back down, by the way. That would take us all the way down to the breakout of the bull market. It's the markets, anything is possible, right? Would any of you who, positioned in with the majority of you who positioned in with CTM, obviously if you're just joining us, whether it's, 3 days ago, 3 weeks ago, or 3 months ago, that's not you. Would you sell your Bitcoin if you have a Bitcoin position from $9,000, right? Over here. Or would you, I personally obviously would not. Do I think that's going to happen? Something would be really off for Bitcoin to trade down to where the beginning of the bull market happened. It's never happened before. If you look at the past cycles, you know that in the first cycle, we traded. Now, you have to go. Let me go. I can hide this for you. Let me hide this so you could just look at this with me. All right. If you're looking over here at the first peak over here, Bitcoin $32, and then you look at the bear market low of the previous cycle, you're looking at Bitcoin trading, up 385%. All right. Bitcoin never coming back and testing the breakout or even close to it. In the following cycle, in the second cycle, it's 165%. Here we go. Let's draw that in just so everyone can see it. Here's the last all-time high. Here's the bear market low, 170%, right? So if you're thinking that over here, as we take out the all-time high, that price is going to come back, if this is the top and price is going to come back all the way down and test the break, the model has broken. Something is drastically different on Bitcoin. Maybe you think the case for Bitcoin is no longer there. Maybe you're exiting Bitcoin and your stop loss is not zero. You're just done with Bitcoin. That obviously that's not my perspective or even close to it. Just giving you a little bit of perspective of where we are right now, but I don't like the flow of that, so I'm going to keep moving along. I'm going to keep moving along over here. What are we looking at? I want to clarify those who are looking at this particular price over here as being, you know, I don't want to call it a cycle top because I don't believe anyone that I know believes this is the top of the bull market in Bitcoin. If you believe that we go sideways for a while, right, and come back up in September, you're just looking at this similar to what happened over here in the first cycle, a double wave, you could call it. And that is a double wave. Why I don't believe we're experiencing a double wave because we did not go parabolic as we did over here. If you're looking at the possibility that what we're going to see is Bitcoin trade sideways and then come back up sometime in the fall, that is a double wave. And in hindsight, I will be like, wow, you were definitely correct. You know, well, I'm going to catch on a lot quicker. I'm going to catch on really quick as we come back down and take out the current low in just a little bit. I'll be on top of that. Hold on, let me see what we're looking at over here. Right? We come back down, we take out that low, and all of a sudden I'm following option B. You know, and everyone will know it, and I'm going to be very clear about it so that as many people as I know could see the clarity they need to navigate as best as possible. That's for sure. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going over here. Everyone, by the way, especially those that are here now, thank you for being here. Thank you for spending this time together each and every day. I am grateful for you. Those that are watching on the replay, you're included. Thank you. All right. So if you're looking at this being, let's call it a double wave, the first wave over here, right? And then we're looking at prolonged sideways price action and then a spike up in the fall, which ends, you know, whatever price may be, you know, taking out this high though. And then, you know, even if only by a little, the 4-year cycle is still intact. And we have to say, that did more closely resemble, you know, the 2013 cycle, right? However, here's the one difference that I see that I think it's very important for anyone who's following that line of thinking to just kind of sit back, listen to, and definitely discern whether or not you see it the same, right? Now, this particular moment over here where we are, that's this right here. This is the mid-cycle dip. We're not over here right now, right? If you understand where we are at this particular moment of the cycle, where we are is during the mid-cycle dip, the shakeout, I call it. The shakeout, right? The shakeout, and this is now obviously clearly an enormous shakeout. Now, until we recover, you don't have to call it the shakeout because this time could be different. But where we are right now is not over here. We're over here mid-cycle, and this was the shakeout. So you have to, you know, definitely consult about your understanding of where we are. And I know a lot of people, you know, I know there are people who are like, listen, you know, this time is different or it may rhyme, but, you know, yeah, well, we're seeing a lot of differences. This is not exactly tracking the 2013 cycle. It's not exactly tracking the 2016 cycle. It's more closely mirroring the 2016 cycle. However, it definitely has higher volatility to the upside and higher volatility now to the downside. Up until this moment over here, the volatility to the downside was less than the 2016 cycle. The volatility was stronger to the upside, but either which way, it is still an average of the two. So you could say, well, Jordan, that means to me that instead of having this short consolidation mid-cycle, we're going to have a longer consolidation mid-cycle. And you're absolutely correct. That is true. But if you look at what's happened, we've already had a longer consolidation. We've already been consolidating here for 3 months. We're mid-cycle. If you think that we're going for another, 3 or 4 month consolidation, and I'm going to go less. I think people are saying that we're going to have a little bit longer than a consolidation than they think. Listen, if we consolidate to September, June, July, August, that's 3 more months. So if you think that we're consolidating for 6 months, then all of a sudden the consolidation became longer than in the first cycle when we did have that massive blow off, massive blow off first wave peak, and then went into that massively long consolidation. We've already been consolidating longer than the first cycle by a 5, but this is so far to date and continues to be an average of the two, showing even in consolidation wise, mid-cycle, it is consolidating an average of the two. I want the awareness for everyone. including those who are looking for that double wave, just to have the understanding that you are not here right now. You are not here right now. You are absolutely right here. It's very important going forward to make sure that everyone is on track, right? And again, people put things out there. I saw Heath's tweet this morning. He's like, I'm not calling a market top. I have all my Bitcoin and I'm completely bullish. I'm saying what we experienced over here was, however he words it, and he's exactly correct what he's pointing out. He's exactly correct what he's pointing out. Pay attention. Consult all views all the time. Okay? Either which way. Look, the only reason I'm bringing this chart up here right now, there's nothing to talk about, everyone knows, is that right here, we are currently somewhere in this area. We are currently bouncing. If we are entering accumulation phase, if we're going to go sideways for another few months, for me in my mind, that means we're going to be rejected. You know, where that rejection takes place, some people are looking, for somewhere as low as, let's call it between 45,000, right? And 46,000, 47,000 in that area. I think it could go even higher. I think that you could get rejected all the way up. I called it 53,000 to be safe. Let me, I don't know if I should be looking at, there you go. Like that. That's one option. I don't know where it is. 50,000, we could be rejected. That's a little higher than the base case of most people. It's possible we're rejected up there and come back down. It could be even higher than that. I don't have a clear view at it right now. So I'm not gonna, don't hold me to it, but it could be as high as 50. Once we reach 53,000, I think that we're in the clear. All right. Just so you know that, we could trade up pretty high over here and still be rejected. I will be watching what happens in that area very closely so that I know if we're coming back down before we make the lower low, that we're all prepared for it. We could all mentally prepare ourselves for what we believe is going to be some sideways price action, understanding that we're looking for this then to be actually the institutions setting up this distribution event so that they could accumulate over time, and that we're also accumulating as the institutions are accumulating, because the only reason they bought it down to accumulate was to bring it back up. And as they bring it back up, we want to be there. Willy Woo. What's he bringing out today? He's talking about some on-chain analytics, bringing out the cheap coins he see as the NVT has spiked down over here. A couple of things that I want to point out. You could see over here that in a bear market, also you had this signal over here with what was some cheap NVT. I think so far, it's very clear to everyone that we're not at the end of the cycle, right? That we are mid-cycle. Every time, by the way, when I say every time, I'm talking about this area right over here. I'm going to show you. When we're here, we have an NVT signal. When we're here, we have an NVT signal. And here right now, we have an NVT signal mid-cycle. Look over here. I want to show you the past one I just pointed out. That when I'm telling you we're not over here or over here, that we're over here in the middle of the consolidation at the bottom of the shakeout, which, by the way, happens to be the beginning of the parabolic move. It's the low point. It's wave 1 to wave 2 into the parabolic move. The other time that happened was over here. The other time that occurs is right over here in 2016. And you could see 2016 is right over here. And then you could see that signal, wave 1, wave 2 into the parabolic move, blow off top. Now, that's clearly where I think we are today. That is clearly where I think we are today. Now, the timing of it, we're going to make sure we get right. Is it safe to say, for myself, by sometime the middle of June, the latest, that we recovered, we've taken out $65,000 and we're going up? Absolutely. That's option A for me. That's my base case. Am I giving it, enough time? Yeah, it could happen way sooner. It could happen much sooner. This could be in June, right? And if that's happening, be prepared for some massive volatility to the upside the rest of this cycle. If we're playing it safe, and right now, after seeing an anomaly in the market, I feel like playing it safe. Yeah, I know. The more volatility to the upside, the more to the downside. You see that clearly playing out over here in the first cycle. The more volatility to the upside, the more to the downside, right? 2016, a little bit less to the upside, a little bit less to the downside. right? By the way, when you're having that increased volatility to the upside and downside, the ending of the bull market is fireworks, Not that this is not fireworks alone, and it is, All right, back to the NVT over here. Willie Woo points out a very important piece over there, right? That when we're talking about Peter Brandt calling the top of the bull market, again, there's no one that I know that I see calling the top of the bull market. People calling perhaps a double wave and then prolonged consolidation, that's different. They're not calling the top. They're calling just a mid-cycle peak, okay? Willie Woo is saying bull markets do not end. Bull markets end with a mania peak at valuations way above the NVT price, organic price. This chart is statistically Z-scored so that the mania peak should be roughly the same height. NVT ratio shows very high buying from investors right now. We also looked at on-chain, looking at who was buying wallets holding between 100 and 1,000 Bitcoin. If anyone thinks that we are putting a cycle top over here, I just ask you to reevaluate where you are. That's not saying if you think we put in a double wave. That could entirely be possible. That could entirely be possible. Just understand where we are. We're already mid-cycle, right? This is the shakeout over here. Would it be weird to be putting in a peak over here? In my opinion, yes. I do not see a double wave because we never had that mania. This is mania, all right? That's just my own feeling. Consult everyone. I'm not here at any point to say who's right, who's wrong. I'm here to share what I see to help you make up your own mind, and that's for sure. Let's play some head snack over here on this Friday. Let's get going.
Markets, analyzing the charts, hitting projected targets within the margin. Find the flow, sip the matcha, and wait for the waves to come in with lobsters. The kind-hearted Jordan Fosters, working smarter, not harder to move the markers. On his way to conquer, trading and investing, drinking the coffee while reflecting on the blessing. The markets are not crashing, the prices might be slashing, just to pretend they're in fashion. Need a like button, comments, and smash it. Boom, boom, Jordan in the room, grab the bull by the horns and to the moon. Flow from the plateau, make the play. Boom, boom, it's a taco day.
It's a taco day. It's a taco day.
All right, catching up a little bit, bringing it back over here. By the way, we're about to get into the cycle peak, the expected cycle peak, and where we're looking at that, where I'm looking at that at least. For first, a couple of things. Boom, 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 boom. So, give me basics. The Wyckoff event does not make the whole Bitcoin mystery less appealing. This is a good, I wanted to highlight this, very important over here. If we're entering, by the way, what would be if this was a Wyckoff event, and obviously you've seen me over the last couple of days point out and say, yeah, anyone who followed that pattern, you're exactly correct. I see what's happened in the market. But at the same time, that means you believe that this is happening next. You can't get a Wyckoff event and then a sharp recovery out of it. Otherwise, that was not a Wyckoff event. You got to call the same way I got to say, yep, that's exactly how it played out to the downside. And now I have to watch out for this happening. When do you know this is happening? I just told you before. Right now, we're just on our way up for the retest. We have not yet seen any remotely type of V. For me to say, yep, the V is in, to see that whole group of traders that were saying we're going to be going sideways for a while to start following the wind, it's going to be north of $53,000, right? So until we get above $53,000, we're not even talking about the V in place, right? So right now, and up until then, you're watching for a retest coming in right over here, right? And for them to send it back down, right? That's when we'll know, all right, we're not seeing a V shape. The model is breaking where what happened mid-cycle saw a V-shaped recovery, where what happened mid-cycle saw a V-shaped recovery. and something's different, and we're entering in for sure option B for Jordan, which is going to be some prolonged sideways price action. Now, how long and when we get out of that, would it be by August, probably the latest, whatever the case may be? We'll work our way through it because we'll be relying on this guide. We will be relying on this guide to make sure that we're able to get through it. And this will be the point. There will be an enormous amount of fear over here. We will be looking to lean in hard over here together. Okay? So anyway, we have that type of perspective. So listen, my boy y'all over here, still misguiding people, say it could go parabolic up. It has gone down parabolic. Y'all, my boy, you're right. Listen, no one's been misguided here at all. If you're here, and by the way, forget those. I know how many of you, got positioned in from this channel who's been here for so long at extremely low levels. And for those people aside, right? Come on. Listen, all that I remember saying was 1 week ago to everyone, something's not right. I don't know what's going on. I am neutral, right? That's all that I remember saying. There's no one here that could anything but affirm that. Go to last Friday's video. You'll watch it and you'll see it. I'm pointing out what's not right. I'm pointing out why it doesn't make sense to me. And I'm saying you got to, that I'm neutral. And when I am saying to everyone for the first time since this channel's been online a year and a half that I don't know what's going on and that I'm neutral, if you're not paying attention, that's on you. But no one's been misled. People have been protected. Now, whether or not you were able to heed and take that advice, or then when I threw out the trend line, and said, wait for the repair. And if you started attacking over here, or if you started attacking over here before the break, well, then you understand that the onus is on you very clearly. Everyone has been, my boy. When I say my boy, I'm being completely sarcastic. You got to get right. You got to call it as it is. If you want to call someone out, call them out each and every day. No question about it. But make sure you're doing it from a place of truth. That's all. All right. So, and when I say $55,000 Bitcoin is cheap, I stand by that. But I also said, looking back, people, as I believe that's the bear market low. And I still believe that's the coming bear market low. Looking back, people are going to be like, 55,000 Bitcoin was cheap. All right, let's keep going. Let's talk about the fun stuff over here as we're looking at what the possible peak for this cycle could be. Now, again, there are multiple theories out there. There are some people who believe that, well, listen, we're really just going to not only go sideways up until the fall, August, September, but we're actually going sideways throughout 2021. But in 2022, at some point, we should be trading, or reaching that $100,000 milestone, and that is the 4-year cycle breaking. That is a lengthening cycle. And if that's happening, and I told Benjamin himself, I'm going to know by the fall. And if that's happening, I'm going to be leaning in heavily to your work to find out where I should be focused, how to continue going forward. But at the end of the day, this is if it's an accumulation phase and the institutions are accumulating and you're going sideways or out of the market, do you think that you might be doing it wrong? Right? So what I'm saying to you is over here at $40,000. By the way, I know that people bought the dip lower, but here we are right now at 40. Do you think this is a good buying opportunity if in 2022 you're going to see Bitcoin at $100,000? By the way, are you keeping track? I'm not ready to present yet, but I will be soon. Let me pull up a couple of things. This was the headline yesterday. One bank's case for 500,000 Bitcoin. This is not Kathy from ARK Investments, as she's saying, yep, I still stand by our research that we're headed towards $500,000 Bitcoin. Do you think 55,000 Bitcoin is cheap? Look, what they're talking about is tracking the price of Bitcoin off the Fed's balance sheet, which they expect to hit $40 trillion by 2050. So what game are you playing, right? If you don't understand the bullish case for Bitcoin, What game are you playing? Think about it over here. Now, I had some beautiful work being done. I'm not ready to present it, but when I am and will, I will. This is Ian over here. By the way, hold on. I'm not ready to present it, which is why. This is Ian tracking the price of Bitcoin in relation to M2. George is the one who sparked this conversation over here. He did actually a Zoom with me talking about it, presenting it. George, thank you for all your work, which is bringing the rest of the team into it, helping them work with you. I love it. Big shout out to not only George, but all the moderators over here. This is signal over here. There's only one direction the Fed's balance sheets are going. They already know what happens when they do quantitative tightening. They break the system, right? They break the system, and that leads to what? Some type of massive crisis where the last time it happened, remember the repo market was broken in September 2019? The market broke in March of 2020, but that wasn't because of the global lockdown triggered it. The system was already broken. The repo market had been broken for several months. The Fed knows they can't take away, they can't tighten that liquidity. There's only one way we're going, and that's massively to the upside. You know, how long that unfolds after this massive injection that we saw in the last 12 months, we're still seeing $1.4 trillion of growth. Yes, that's them pulling off, you know, the pedal a little bit. $1.4 trillion growth, but the direction it's headed, and it usually goes in like strong burst upwards and then sideways, strong burst upwards and then sideways, is massively up. What I'm trying to say over here, regardless of what you think happens next on Bitcoin, this is an opportunity, a massively good opportunity. All right, let me talk about the cycle peak over here. Let me jump in over here. Right now, I have this lined up from the halving event, right? And by the way, I think that the best thing to do is to line up each cycle from the halving event themselves, you know, until price makes the new all-time high. At that point, you then move to when price makes the new all-time high. Until price makes the mid-cycle dip, then I think it's best to line them up from the mid-cycle dip. The reason we're doing this is because we are believers, or I am a believer in the 4-year cycle, and I'm looking for that cycle peak to exit Bitcoin because I do not want to hodl through an 85% drawdown. Now, listen, if I had a crystal ball, right? If I had, and I could have exited Bitcoin here at the top and bought back in after a 54% drawdown, I would have done that all day long. There's no question about that. But I don't. What I am able to do is to look at the cycle, to look at the 3 phases in the cycle and trade around that. And then what I'm also able to do is within those cycles, look at those clear events, right? This was an anomaly for myself. Not expecting a 54% drawdown. Only happened 2 other times. The other time during the crisis, right? And the other time before that was when we did see a massive blow off top mid-cycle for a double wave, price then coming down 70%. All right, what am I looking at over here? I'm going to go ahead and line these up now from the new all-time high. All right, I'm going to start here. And as we do that, you know, at this point, yeah, we're looking at price peaking somewhere around September. September 21st was the date that I gave everyone of where, you know, again, I'm following price action at the top. Whether or not you believe we're going to have a parabolic blow off top this cycle or not, that's fine. I'm telling you that within, you know, roughly 150 days, that's what we're going to see. And at that point, if I'm wrong, you could be like, Jordan is dead wrong. But if at that point you get proven correct by the market, at that point, you're going to have to say, maybe it's about time I start listening to those who have a history of being correct. Maybe I have to throw out the possibility that we're having this lengthening cycle, super cycle thing, and I'm going to have to get on board what's happening. Either that or you're a hodler and you're going to be hodling down through an 85% drawdown. It's up to you. You know, at the end of the day, things have changed. What has changed? Well, you know, this is obviously, and I thought over here very clearly, we were seeing the shakeout over here. Shakeout occurring now. I'm lining them up from the shakeout, and it gives me a different type of perspective. Because each shakeout that we've seen past, Let me go ahead and pull up the halving tracker. Mission control. Each time we've had the mid-cycle shakeout, it's been approximately 150 days to the cycle peak. Approximately 150 days to the cycle peak. If this is indeed the mid-cycle shakeout over here, I'm looking at approximately 155 days. That puts me up into October. You know, again, I was off by 30 days over here. This is off by 30 days. Right now is where I stand. I have two guides that I'm looking at. I'm looking at the potential top of the peak occurring either, towards the end of September, right? If indeed this is lined up correctly, and this is nothing more than an anomaly. And by anomaly, I mean that like Elon tweeting over here, as we're recovering from the V, Elon tweeting, Jordan's like, something's not right. I don't understand. Make sure I'm neutral. And then all of a sudden you saw whatever the market participants might have been, who they might have been, but you saw the massive inflows into Binance, record inflows into Binance. You then saw within 24 hours a massive, massive crushing dump. And then you still saw right after that a record outflows from Binance. That's a mark. That's a fingerprint of manipulation that took place. That manipulation took place because of the massive leverage, over leverage in the system. That's why they were able to go ahead and to trigger all of those liquidations that continue to trigger like a domino, sending price down into that capitulation. And that was a capitulation event, right? Anyway. So is this all an anomaly, right? And do we backtrack even though it looks like a V, but we're still peaking in September? Well, that's a distinct possibility. I cannot discount that as being what happens. So I have to have my range from where I project it to be in September, but at the same time, well, even though all that happened, this might be the mid-cycle dip itself, the shakeout. And before it happened, a week ago or on the 12th, right? As I'm saying, something does not seem right. I don't understand what it is. And Ted's like, that's unusual for Jordan to say. Let me do my research and look into it. And then he points out in the Discord, hey, listen, we might have that shakeout to come. Everyone pay attention. And if this is the shakeout over here, at that point, I am looking approximately 150 days. And that moves my target out towards the middle to end of October. So it's within that range right now that I'm going to be looking for that cycle peak. Now, as we move further, because we're going to be able to line it up again as we come into the pullback right before the parabolic move. And by the way, if we are looking at that September peak, that October peak over here, as we're trading up in September, a lot of people are going to confuse that with being the bull market cycle peak and be exiting, right? A lot of people will be exiting before the massive move. So be aware of market psychology and the participants involved. Nevertheless, as we do have that pullback over there, that offers a possible another opportunity for us to line this up over here, knowing that in this 2012 cycle, it took 35 days from this event for the cycle peak. And also in 2016, it took 35 days for the blow off top. Now, some people are like counting days and giving dates. That's not my thing. I don't believe in that. Okay, that's all good and fine. But the only reason that we got where we are today is because that's how I've done it. That's how I've been able to know when people, at $14,000 are taking profits and selling Bitcoin. And I'm like, listen, your timing is off if you think at this particular time of cycle that there's not more room to the upside, right? Throughout the whole cycle, the whole reason we've kept our thumb on the pulse of the market is because of the work I've been doing using off-path. I will continue to consult them. I said from the very beginning, listen, it's not going to repeat itself exactly, but it's definitely going to rhyme. And this cycle continues to not only rhyme, but rhyme on time with an average of the two. Very close average over here of the two. That's why when I look at 30, Will I be consulting 35 days from this move over here? Absolutely. There's no question about it. It's something that has repeated itself. And until the model's broken, I'm not looking to call the top on the model. I will look to consult it. That being said, there's also a very distinct pattern over here. Now, listen, I'm pointing this out to you, and I know that someone later is going to tweet at me and tell me about it. This is always what happens. I bring something up, and then later on, someone is like, Jordan, look at this. Look at this, though, right? You can see what it looks like at the cycle peak. It's going to be clear to us if price is going parabolic. How do I say that I'm going to be exiting on the way up? How is it that I feel that I could exit on the way up? Why are you looking for perhaps more of a willy woo exit? Are you waiting to exit on the way down after you see a massive, move down it's a little going to be harder to tough, as this was a 44% drawdown, right? We just saw a 53% drawdown in mid-market, right? Either which way, if you're looking to exit on the bounce over here, it's a last chance. It's possible. You could do it. But you have to be aware of what happens. Exchanges go down. When there's massive volume, when the market's a little funky, we see repeated behavior of exchanges going down. It's why I've said throughout the bull market, it's time for you to get multiple on and off ramps so that you have those possibilities available to you. People didn't understand it. I'm going to use Wednesday's event as a learning experience. As you can see, many exchanges were offline. Okay? Now, over here, what you see is a 1, 2, 3, 4 dance. 1 is the pullback, right? Higher high is number 2. Another pullback for 3, and then 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's on 4 I'm going to exit if the behavior is repeating itself. It's on 4 I'm going to exit on the way up, catching the top. If you don't believe that we're looking at a parabolic top over here, mid-cycle, or that the 4-year cycle exists, and if you look at these things and you're like, what 4-year cycle? If you don't see price repeating itself over and over and over again, well, listen, what are you going to do if this occurs? When will you say you're wrong? I will say I'm wrong, by the way, if price goes sideways from here, right? If price starts underperforming 2016 and then price continues to go sideways and we're into November, I'm like, oh my gosh, the 4-year cycle is broken. I could tell you the 4-year cycle is broken by November. That's not too far away. When are you going to say that you're wrong? And that indeed we're not saying. You could also see, by the way, in the previous cycles, within 6 weeks, we have a 70% drawdown in both cycles. Is that going to be another indication to you that perhaps you were wrong? I don't think anyone anymore is going to say, hey, listen, I don't think that we're going to see, we're only going to see a 60% drawdown during the bear market. Well, in the bull market, we saw a 54% drawdown. I think that's all out the window over there. Either which way, I'm only looking to be right. I know when I'm wrong. I know when the 4-year cycle is no longer relevant. And by the way, I don't have to wait. Over in November, I could say, yep, the 4-year cycle, the model is definitely broken. Benjamin, what are you offering? I want to make sure that I get it right, that I'm following the work you're doing, and I want to make sure that anyone who's working alongside me is also on that same page. Now, Benjamin, by the way, was like, hey, listen, by July, if we recovered, if we're trading above 70,000, hey, Jordan, I know that you're onto something, and I know that you're right. And I want to have you in front of all my viewers, helping them navigate the rest of the bull market phase over here. Because I care about my community too. And I just want them on the right side of the market as well. And if we could have someone who's been reading it so well, being able to navigate us through, of course, that's what I wanted. The one thing that I'm not okay with, by the way, is someone, if you see price rising in September, and price is hitting $160,000, is just using a price level as an exit. Do not do that. You have to consult the price action itself. If you're leaving, if you exit at $150,000 and price winds up peaking at $300,000, you left way too much of those sprinkles of that whipped cream, of the cherry and the hot fudge and the caramel out of it. That's all the good stuff. That's what we want to get, and it still remains the same. Price reaches $140,000 this bull market cycle. Mission accomplished. We set out a goal. We reached our goal, but that's not what we're looking for. We're looking to take whatever the market gives us. We didn't make it. We didn't make it, by the way, to 1,000 likes, but we came close. My flow was off. No excuses. No sleep either. That's okay. I'm looking forward to this afternoon, getting online with Brandon, watching him work out the CTM training session together. You know, that will be placed in the announcements channel when it's going to be released, when we're going live to share it. I hope that me and Brendan are both there together at that moment with you. All right. Hold on one second. Let me just catch up with a couple of comments. So Roy, that was, by the way, Roy, I'm glad you brought this up. One of the things that brought my attention when I kept saying something's not right, one of the things that I was saying last Friday on the session with you where something's not right was the Bitcoin dominance. And I kept saying that all of last week, not just on Friday, all of last week. I kept pointing out to you how this time last cycle, when I say this time last cycle, what I was mean as price was coming into that shakeout, right? Why I was thinking, why was this possibly not the shakeout? And I still don't know, but I presented that very well to you this session, very well to you. But when I was saying to myself, something is not right, it was that the Bitcoin dominance was at 44%. And I knew during, July 2016, during the shakeout, that the Bitcoin dominance was at 38%. And I was saying something's not right, something's not off. Since then, we've seen the Bitcoin dominance fall down all the way towards 39%. If it's rising right now, which I'm looking at a lag. I looked at CoinMarketCap where it shows it. And right now, it must be 24 hours behind. It's still showing around 39%, right? Because I was looking to see if it started rising. If I and we're not seeing it rising because Bitcoin's going up. We're seeing so far today, it's noise right now. It's too soon to say anything. We're seeing a lot of alts trading off as Bitcoin's trading up slightly or unchanged on the day. Is that the beginning? Maybe it's too soon to say for me. You could see that after the market showing a huge anomaly, I have more of a cautious approach and outlook, and that's rightfully so. We don't know what is next. We're prepared, as we should be, but we don't know, right? If I start seeing Bitcoin dominance increasing as the price of Bitcoin continues to rise, and I see Bitcoin, somewhere between, the middle of June and the middle of July, coming towards that $65,000, $64,000 all-time high in that area, that's going to say to me, that's a good sign. Everything is right on time. I like that. Now, that might not happen. Bitcoin also, by the way, this I expect, obviously, this to be the bottom. I'm not expecting a retest of the bottom. I'm not expecting us to take out the low of the bottom. You all know if that does occur, if that is occurring, at that point, my perspective has to change. And I have to say, all right, it's the institutions, and they actually are looking here to go ahead and accumulate, and they don't spend all this time working out a pattern to bring it right back up. That's not Wyckoff distribution at that point. But this is for sure, this is some players in the market, record inflows by double into Binance, massive liquidations, and then record outflows of Binance by while it's holding between 100 and 1,000 Bitcoin. Some players in the market cause those liquidations and cause that manipulation in the market. Does that sound like institutions to you? It doesn't to me. It doesn't sound like institutions to me. If it is, and we come back down over here and we take out that low by little, at that point, we're looking for some prolonged accumulation phase over here, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to make sure that we position mentally accordingly. Now, the other thing that could possibly happen, this is Ian has been very on point, understanding that as we're looking at Ethereum in its second cycle, right? In its second 4-year cycle, Ethereum trades in a 4-year cycle. Yep, it tracks Bitcoin's 4-year cycle to a T, and as it's in its second cycle, just like Bitcoin's second cycle, it's much more mature. There's a lot more money involved. Let me go try to draw up this is Bitcoin's second cycle, much more mature than its first cycle. By the way, in Ethereum's first cycle, it had a double wave. It had a clear double wave in its first cycle. I can't go in this chart over here. You have the ability to also pull up Ethereum. I can't just look at Ethereum without Bitcoin. I wish I could do that. I also wish Ted, if you are viewing and watching, if it's possible to include over here that this light blue line is the 2012 cycle and that this dark blue line over here is the 2020 cycle. Now, listen, the work you've done is absolutely phenomenal. Beyond phenomenal. That's a bad word for it, right? The work that you and Ian together have done is absolutely mind-blowing. I'm not asking you to do this. I'm just saying if it were possible, I don't even know if it is possible, that would just be tremendous because I don't know that people look at this and see what we see right away. If you're looking at this for the first time, I don't think that you would understand this light blue is the 2016 cycle projected and that the dark blue is 2020. It would be neat. It's not important, either which way. Is it possible, as Ian is pointing out, in its second cycle, Ethereum, much more mature, tracking very closely the 2016 cycle of Bitcoin, right? Is it possible that we see the price of Bitcoin rise and the dominance not have that really that recovery that we saw last cycle, where the Bitcoin dominance started rising from here up until December 3rd, and why Ethereum went sideways that whole period? Yeah, that's possible that we can continue seeing out of this shakeout. We see Ethereum continuing to come out of this shakeout as well, and Ethereum leading. And now it's not leading today. That's fine. It could be leading. It could be leading, over the next couple of weeks as if Bitcoin recovers. You could see Ethereum leading. And at that point, we would see something different than last cycle as far as the Bitcoin dominance. And maybe the Bitcoin dominance will not see that massive, let's say, spike up before the end of alt season, where alts in that last 3-week window really capitulate on a massive spike upwards before their cycle peak. By the way, the question is coming up, what altcoins do you have your eye on, if we do see that tradable event? And by the way, it becomes a massively tradable event for myself and for many of you if we do see in this period over the next few months the Bitcoin dominance continue to rise over here. That's saying, everything is now working out on time. If I see Bitcoin dominance coming out of the shakeout rising, then everything is repeating itself to a T. How could you not consult the past cycles and past behavior? It's all repeating itself. It's like I live in a matrix and it's just, boom, 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 boom. But if you see a glitch in the matrix and something's changing, well, not only do I want to be aware of it, everyone wants to be aware of it. And a glitch in the matrix at this point, would be if this started occurring. We'll be watching for it. One of the main takeaways of this session for a lot of people is also understanding, I believe, that we're not over here right now, that we're over here right now. And what happens over here, even though this was a prolonged consolidation off of that first cycle top, if you think this is a first cycle top, also understand the consolidation is not expected to be as longer than this time, because we're seeing more volatility. This is an average of the two cycles, but less than this time, because the volatility is also a lot less than that first cycle, that 2012 cycle. Which brings us back over to here. What in Brandon's session later this afternoon, assuming we're both able to get together and do that, that's our plan. If my wife's going to the hospital for having a baby, it's not going to happen. But either which way, during that session with Brandon, because I'm going to ask Brandon what he has his eyes on, and I'm going to talk about with Brandon what I have my eyes on, and that's going to be one to help you answer that question. So what else? Good question, Roy. Thanks for bringing that up. Boom, 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 boom. Well, so just by the way, my own 2 cents being that I was just talking about it. Oh, I'm not buying any alts. Good. This is not really the time of the cycle that you want to be leaning into alts, right? This, especially versus Bitcoin. we'll see what happens. That was just all articulated very well. So anyway, I'm going to play some honeymoon vocals so I could read some comments and see if there's anything we want to come back and take a look at together. So let's do that. All right. So a couple of things. Yo, second time today, my brother. What's going on? Heath, go check Twitter. Heath tweeted this morning. He's not calling the cycle peak at all. That he's bullish on Bitcoin. He's buying on Bitcoin. What he's calling over here, perhaps, and I don't know. When you watch Heath's video, listen to what Heath says. Do not misrepresent him. That's one thing I don't like is people misrepresenting other people. That's not cool at all over there at all. And Heath is saying, yeah, well, whatever Heath's saying, Heath is saying it best. But listen to what he's saying. Don't misrepresent. What's going on, Jordy? What's going on, my brother? Either way, it's all good. Let's take a look at what's going on over there. Someone mentioned Bitcoin was rejected hard. Let's take a look at that really quick before I get into gold and silver. Also want to look at the DXY. Not yet. Coming back into that trend line. Okay. I see sideways price action. If I can make a square over here, let me do that really quick. Right. This is really what we see right now is Bitcoin. You know, is it possible we come out and take out the low of this range and back into here? Well, very possible. Very possible for sure. You know, could we see something like a test of, between 37 and 36? You know, of course we can. But right now we're still holding that trend line over there. You know, you got to raise your time preference a little bit. And yeah. The other thing that I wanted to check out was gold and silver and the DXY. You can see the DXY over here bouncing a little bit right now. Something happened over here. This is more caused by the dollar, right? That we're seeing that sharp reaction over there. But if I look back, I'm going to start on the daily over here. You could see that the dollar is coming in to test or has actually taken out, right? This last bit of area over here coming into the 89.40. This is a big level. We've been watching it. If the dollar loses this level, we know that we're coming into 88.40, and at that point, it could be a big smash down. Is this support holding over here right now, or are we still staying range bound? I don't know. The dollar is in jeopardy, though. The dollar, for sure, there's a lot of weakness over there. That weakness was started, by the way. We were all on top of that. You know, we had that breakdown, that retest, and then the resumption off, you know. Gold and silver. Gold looks like it's holding up pretty well right now. On the 8-hour, you could see that after breaking above this resistance, it's now holding as support. It's coming in for the retest, trying to resume off of it. Looks good. It looks healthy. You know, losing that level. These are the trend lines. You know, until we lose this outer trend line over here, you know, gold looks very, very, very healthy. Same thing on silver. Silver is obviously looking very good over here. Silver's trend line. I'm wondering, watching this, if you're watching this closely, if it's time to look at raising up this trend line to protect yourself further. And rightfully might be so. It's too soon though. You know, if we resume off there, I think you could do that. Right now, you should still be leaning in and watching this trend line over here. Let me just try to tidy this up as best I could. What's correct? I had it like this, or should we be looking more like this? I think this is safer, right? As long as, and I'm not sure. Either way, very, very, very bullish on the precious metals over there. Bitcoin under pressure as we leave this session over here. When you're seeing this type of behavior right now, this price action, it's a nervous market. Many of the market participants are very nervous right now. And that's what you're seeing. You know, you have your plan. There's one or two scenarios that take place from where we are today, right? Either we're mid-cycle, we're seeing the shakeout, and we're about to come up, as occurred right over here when we were mid-cycle in the 2013 bull market, and we're about to come up, as occurred when we were mid-cycle in the 2017 bull market, right over here, and then we came back up. Either that's occurring right now and we go back up, or this time is different, like Heath is saying, as he see the market possibly showing what is not a top, an interim top, right? I have listened to both Brandon, and I have listened, what's that up there? From Wu Blockchain Breaking, the State Council of China, crack down on Bitcoin mining and trading, and prevent individual risks transmitted on the social field. We need more details on that. I don't know what that means yet. Thank you, Alan. I will actually be looking probably at Alan's Twitter feed later on to see if we have any more follow through or clarification on that. Alan P. also obviously always, reading the Chinese newspapers, always very on signal when it comes to what's going on there with China. Anyway, interesting, or where I was, either we're seeing that occur or we're seeing something different this time, and we're about to enter a prolonged period of consolidation. In that, by the way, if you think that we're going to resemble more closely, I think it's an average of the two. If you think we're resembling more closely the 2012 cycle over here, what happened during the shakeout, even if we go sideways up until August or September, it still means that we have a recovery, towards, $58,000, $64,000 relatively soon. If you're in the camp that we go sideways and consolidate, and you're using, past cycles as any type of guide, which have been the clearest guide there is, that means that we have some type of recovery heading back towards $58,000, $64,000, and, as we continue to go sideways. Now, if you believe this time is different and we're about to enter some type of Wyckoff accumulation phase, which is a distinct possibility, this would be this would be the 4-year cycle not yet breaking. If the 4-year cycle is able to peak in that window I showed you between September and October, obviously the 4-year cycle is very much intact, even if we went sideways all the way to August. But something would be clearly different if this shakeout did not have some type of V recovery to it, and that instead we made a lower low. If we make a lower low than Wednesday's low, then this time is different in how the 4-year cycle plays out. The 4-year cycle is not broken unless we don't peak in that window between September and October. November, we're still going sideways. The model's broken. No question about it. I'm not telling you to wait years to find out. I'm telling you within a very specific window. That's the precision we use. Now, on the other hand, if we start seeing us take out Wednesday's low, something's clearly different. Yes, I'm going to have to say you guys are right. That looks a lot more like institutions playing institutional games, and we have to consult what was option B to me and now bring that up as option A. And that's what we'll do. We're going to adjust to what the market is showing us, not trying to not trying to have our own ideas and hope that plays out. All right. What else do we got going on over here? Before we get off, because it's a Friday, I want to see if there's any other questions out here that we need to discuss as a whole. China's Vice Premier Liu says to crack down on Bitcoin mining and trading activities. Interesting. What's a couple of things that are interesting here? Obviously, the digital yuan being introduced. If this is a state attack against Bitcoin right now, that is a good model for us to consult as the Federal Reserve gets ready to introduce the digital dollar. Now, you saw Powell yesterday. I tweeted it out there if you saw it. It was super interesting that Powell changed the Fed's dual mandate, right? Changed the Fed's dual. Anyway, let me pull up the tweet. Sorry about the flow today, everyone. Let me pull up the tweet. I could talk about it with you really quick. This all has to do with what's happening in China right now. That's why I want to talk about it with you. All right. Let me scroll down over here. Wow, a lot was shared yesterday. Very active on the Twitter yesterday. Over here, Martine shared this video of Powell speaking yesterday. It was very interesting because the Fed, if you want to take a second and you want to research Google or DuckDuckGo, Fed's dual mandate. They have a dual mandate, of price stability and maximum sustainable employment. It's why Jerome has saying until the jobs return, they will not back off the easy monetary policy. And we all know the jobs are never going to return for two reasons. The first reason is the jobs are being automated away. The second reason is because the government keeps paying people to stay home. It's the reason you can't catch an Uber. Is because the government is paying people to stay home, so the jobs are not going to return, and that gives the Fed cover to continue printing with that uber easy monetary policy until they're able to make the jump to the next monetary system, whether that is the digital dollar or whether that is a new type of Bretton Woods reset, right? So they're buying time. Powell changed that yesterday in this little speech over here, and he says the Fed's dual mandate is for price stability and safety, for price stability and safety and efficiency of the payment system. Well, that's a new one. That's not the Fed's dual mandate. He's saying it is now. I guess it's the new world we live in, right? You could just say whatever it is, and all of a sudden, that's the new truth. What is he talking about? He's setting up, introducing the digital dollar. They have a pilot program being introduced this summer. They're not ready to introduce it into 2022, 2023. When the digital dollar is introduced, that could be a specific time that the U.S. government actually has an attack versus Bitcoin. As I spoke about earlier in the episode, Ben Shapiro saying, listen, that's the whole reason I'm into Bitcoin, is because that's what it was made for. The whole reason that I'm even involved in Bitcoin is because of waiting for a state attack. That's when Bitcoin is really going to prove itself, right? Anyway, if I had the flow, I would get into it and share more. There was another beautiful tweet that I wanted that builds on that. The reason I'm bringing that all up anyway is because that's what's happening? Is that what is happening right now with China? I don't know. I sincerely don't know. We will see. We have to be aware. We have to be watch for it. There was, if you look at the 4chan activity, someone on 4chan saying yesterday that there was going to be another announcement out of China and that they were going to bring price down to $25,000. I don't think they had I think they said it was going to happen at 7 a.m. UTC. Listen, whether they're right or whether they're wrong, continue consulting all sides and all information that has proven to be correct and relevant so that you're able to go ahead and stay in the loop and make your own decisions. I think there was something else I wanted to share. Let me bring up into it or not, you know? And is that what's happening right now? You know, is that what's happening right now? And is it possible we're going to trade down to 25,000? If that's what's happening, I'm going to have to say, listen, continue to consult what these people on these message boards are saying. Maybe they don't have the timing down to the exact hour, but within 24 hours, if they say there's going to be another announcement out of China, and there is, if you're not paying attention to that, you know, I think that you should be. How about that? Alan, thanks for those updates over there. Appreciate that. So people talking about banning leveraging trading, right? You know, what you think? I don't know. People talk about the amount of leverage in Bitcoin being a bad thing. You know, are you familiar with the bond market? Are you familiar with the treasury markets and the amount of leverage offered there? I don't know about that. That's true too, Greg. Looking at the bright side, if Chinese, you know, if they ban mining in China, I happen to think that at the end of the day, the Chinese, the CCP, would like control as much control possible they have over Bitcoin. Now we all know that when it comes to Bitcoin, the miners do not control Bitcoin. It's those running their nodes that do. Nevertheless, as much control as they could have, I would think they would like that. I would think that they would like to invite and have the mining take place inside their country. So if they needed to exude any type of pressure, they could, but we will see. It's too soon for me to know anything like that. Thanks for keeping us in the loop over here, Alan and everyone, right? This is always the best advice that I know. And John, when he talks about lowering your time preference, right? Look, when you talk about lowering your time preference, if you think, going back to that poll we looked at earlier in the day, that Bitcoin is not going to hit 100,000 in 2021, but you think that it's going to happen in 2022, I think at that point your mindset should be that a 50% drawdown on Bitcoin, well, that's a pretty inviting time to buy. And not only that you have that dollar cost averaging accumulation mindset over these next few months if price is going sideways or even down further, or even if you expect price to come down and test $20,000, you know, this whole area, you should be looking, in my opinion, as working towards accumulating as much Bitcoin as you can, knowing that if that's what's happening, that the whole reason it's happening is so that they could bring it back up. If they're looking to bring this down over here, if they're looking for this type of pattern to develop to bring it down for this prolonged sideways accumulation phase, it's to bring it back up. You know, lower your time preference. Good stuff over there. Boom, 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 boom. That's true. Listen, the time was off this time, but the announcement was right. You got to pay attention. Let's see what happens over there. Andre, after 54%, could we say, well, yes and no, Andre? I mean, it's a question worth looking at, worth asking, important to ask. I mean, but look, this is the first time we saw a 70% drawdown occur in Bitcoin, right? This was during a bull market. This was after a blow off top. This was a double wave, right? The only other time we saw Bitcoin outside of the bear market draw down that much was over here during the crisis. Now, we were in the accumulation phase. It was before the halving, right? At that particular time, you're not looking for that type of drawdown. It was an anomaly, right? And look how price reacted off of that anomaly, quickly being brought up, resetting itself to where we are. Do you think that this time is different because of the 54% drawdown? Well, I don't know. It happened over here in the first cycle. Now that 54 is less than 70%, but so is the volatility to the upside. It's less than, the volatility this current cycle is definitely less to the upside. Is it possible that it's also less to the downside? Well, that would seem to make sense, right? So I don't know that I don't see it that way, but it's a good way to look at it. What else? Yo, It's not, yo, my brother. Listen. I don't think this place is for you. Really, when you kind of misrepresented Heath, that's kind of like the last straw, brother. You have to ask yourself, is this place for you? And I think you're just lacking attention. I don't think this place is for you. How about that? All right. What else? We don't want to end it on that note, so let's keep going over here. Let's see what else is out there. Come down to real time over here. Yo, gotta go. There, there it is right there. That's okay. That's all good. I'm just trying to see if there's any other comments to build off of over here. We covered everything we need to cover, so I'm leaning into all you guys. I don't think there is, right? All right. Listen, again, here we are right now. And Bitcoin trading. We got on. Bitcoin was trading, I believe, unchanged on the day, now down 6%. We're seeing some big news enter the market over here. Now, Alan was really good at getting all of our attention to what exactly it was right away. I obviously have not yet done my research. I don't know. Have to watch how the market is reacting to it. Alts were definitely down. Bitcoin slightly up before the announcement. When we started the session, unchanged on the day, now under pressure. This is a big test for Bitcoin, a really big test for Bitcoin, right? I don't think, by the way, this bounce was high enough. When I say high enough, I'm coming back over here to setting up this Wyckoff accumulation phase. I think that they would have wanted to have bought price up higher, getting a lot more market participants thinking that we're going to have the recovery before smacking it down. Could this be some type of manipulation taking place where people are looking, actually building off that coordinated news coming out of China to liquidate a big player or something like that? I don't know. The last I checked, the inflows, outflows on exchanges went out. Now, I heard as we jumped online this morning, someone talking about inflows to exchanges. I haven't seen that on chain. I don't know if that's occurring or not. If that is occurring, right, we do see that news drop out of China, as was pointed out on the 4chan board overnight. And then all of a sudden we start coming down and taking out the lower low, right? How then do you all of you interpret that? Is that in an event where you're actually seeing market players going for blood, looking to hurt someone? And then they said that, listen, after our mission's accomplished, we're taking this thing back up to 70,000 rightfully quick? Or do you look at that as, oh, this is Wyckoff accumulation? It's not easy. And if it were easy, everyone would be doing it. But these are the questions that we have to be asking ourselves. I don't have the answers. What do you all think? What happens if what we see, playing out? Again, I want to see what happened with if there were any inflows, what those inflows were. Last I checked, there were massive outflows. But if we saw massive inflows, if we do see, we saw the news event, we saw it, like they said, there's going to be another massive news release out of China, right? Taking this down to 25,000. If they get their if that occurs and they get their liquidation, right? I mean, obviously you have to see at that point what they say next. But at the same time, what they said was after they get their mark, they're bringing this thing back up towards 70,000 really quick. I don't know. Obviously I don't know. And anyone who thinks they know, they don't know. That's for sure. All right. Are we getting off over here or are we staying on? Let's see what else are we talking about. I want to stay on as this is developing over here. I want to see what's going on myself, right? More margin calls coming today. She's starting to bleed. You got to be safe and protective. Look, this is all very complicated too, right? I think on a higher time perspective, of course, we're looking at, the Fed's balance sheet continuing to rise, M1, M2 rising. I think it's important to consider if the printing hasn't stopped, the money has to go somewhere. At the same time, I haven't brought it up to you. I hope you're all aware of the possibility the Fed is getting itself into over here where it's not going to be able to ease anymore, right? Zoltan has been out on zero hedge, explaining the situation, explaining it well. It's too soon for me to step in here and talk about it. I'm still watching and learning and seeing, but yeah, it's quite possible the Fed runs into a problem. So I don't know about that. I think this smells of market manipulation, huh? If we didn't see, by the way, if we didn't see on the message boards overnight someone talking about, a release coming out of China and then them trying to bring this down towards 25,000, at this point, I would be leaning heavily towards, if this price action were occurring, that we were seeing this taking place, although it's happening very soon. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out here. As you could see, I have that posture. I'm watching. I don't know. I'm aware of all the possibilities. We're going to see what the market continues to show us. The dip of all dips. That's some fun stuff over there. I love it. That's beautiful. So Kevin's asking if I'm always looking at log charts, Kevin. When you see me looking at Bitcoin, log charts are used to view an asset, right? From a longer term perspective. And I always use log charts when I view that. Look, we're on log right over here. And you'll always find me looking at log charts to do that. When I'm watching the market in real time, hiring my time preference, well, then I'm off log, of course. So, I don't follow the market. So there you go. The general rule, for all traders, when you're looking at something from a longer term perspective, you could use log, especially an exponential growth asset like Bitcoin. Pressure coming in. Yeah, this is so complicated. He's asking, building off the conversation on the digital dollar earlier, what would be different? Everything is different, including all of a sudden the banks are no longer needed. You have the Federal Reserve able to, to decide that, this sector or this person or this demographic, they're actually receiving a very favorable interest rate. And then this one is actually receiving a negative interest rate. They could say that you have X amount of time to spend these dollars and or they'll disappear. I mean, there's nothing the same anymore with a digital dollar. But listen, that's another conversation for another time. Thank you so much, Daniel. I thank you so much. Sailor on CNBC trying to Sailor on CNBC and I bought the dip, right? This guy, Brian, this got cut off over there. I don't know what you're trying to say. I assume you're talking to the moderators over here. Yeah, Kuba, we just go back a little bit, like maybe 5 minutes on the time on the live stream over here until Alan pointed out of the news release coming out of China. If you're wondering why price is dipping right now or what that happened, China cracked down on mining. Yeah, so Kenneth, this is a great learning experience over here. If anyone's asking, should I buy now or wait? I'm scared to lose this chance. I mean, listen, if you're asking anyone what you should do, you should not do anything. That you should just understand that you do not belong in the market. If you're asking someone, should you buy, should you sell, should you wait, then you don't belong in the market. And that's a really good thing to understand and know. That just means that you need to work on spending the time to further educate yourself. But do not enter the market coming from any type of perspective of being a gambler. You're going to lose your money. There's no question about that. All right. As we see, someone wanted to look at the at gold Bitcoin cross. Let's take a look at it over here. All dependent on Bitcoin. All dependent on Bitcoin, 100% over here. That goes over here during the Bitcoin's bull market phase, and it's going to be the same thing during gold's bear market phase over there. A lot of people seeing outflows of Bitcoin right now and inflows into gold. They're wondering if they should reposition themselves. I mean, if you believe, Peter Brandt, the top is in of the Bitcoin bull market, then yeah, that makes a lot of sense. If you believe that we are right now, mid-cycle, buying opportunity, cheap Bitcoin, then at that point, obviously you do not want to be positioning from Bitcoin into gold. It depends on where you believe we're at. If you believe that we've topped out, the bull market's over, all models are broken and destroyed. Now, when Michael Saylor said all models are broken and destroyed, I think most of you took that to mean to the upside, right? I don't think anyone thought that means that like Bitcoin's topping mid-cycle and going into a bear market or anything like that. But if you believe that, then yeah, now's a really good time to position into gold. I don't believe that at all or anything close to that, obviously. Yeah, Andre, we just had, by the way, listen, let's do this. Let's go back to the closest event to that we're seeing today, which was the only other anomaly we had. And that was during the crisis and what happened over there. By the way, this one played out a little bit quicker. I would say, this is roughly 9 days. This is roughly 14 days. Let's take a look at it together just to give you that type of perspective over here. As you're wondering, wait a second, this is not looking like a V recovery. We'll do it on the daily. A couple of things. I'm not starting from the top. I'm starting over here. I'm going to show you where I'm starting. This is a distinct pattern that plays out over and over. I'm looking when you're seeing price really moving to the downside, and then you get these 2 days over here. These 2 up days. This is normally a big warning sign, the resumption down over there, and you could see this occurring. This is the part I'm going to focus on with you, and that from when that occurred, right? I'll measure it both ways. This was, approximately or exactly, 10 days, right? With a 44% drawdown. All right. Now, with that in mind, let's go back and look what happened over in March. And then this is the area I'm going to focus in on, right? It was more than 2 days in this case. All right. Let me measure this a couple of ways. I'm going to first measure it from here like I just did, right? That was 12 days with a 60% drawdown. Similar, right? From the top, I want to see also how many days, how long it took, right? This took, how do I do this? This took, see, it's not different. It's 30 days. It's too long. So I'm going to say this is approximately from the top over here to the down. This is approximately 11 days. This time, wow, Jordan, I'm just all out of it. I apologize for that, but I want to make sure that I get the intent of what needs to be shared. I woke up this morning. I was like, I can't believe my alarm has gone off. Either way, here we are. All right. What I'm looking at is the massive move down over there. Thank you for that love. Thank you for that love over there. By the way, if anyone who's a regular listener, anyone who really loves what we do and share over here, could you go ahead and smash the thumbs down button over here? We got a lot of people not liking what's being shared over here. I want to make sure that I want to obliterate the thumbs down over here, get some traction onto this video over here. If you do that, I would be grateful for it. We're looking, or this is what I'm looking at, the recovery from that 2000. I can't even speak. Can't even speak. Either which way. Thank you. Thank you for the love. I appreciate it. Some of you can't even do it, but I would love it. It's okay. It's all good. Coming back down towards this over here. Look, in hindsight, when you look at what happened over here off of this other anomaly, I mean, as this was unfolding, this did not look like a V, right? You could see, this is the daily chart, price back spot. Oh no, we're coming back down lower, right? Price comes back up, and everyone was so fearful every time price sold off over here a little bit that we're coming back and we're taking out the low, rightfully so. Even over here and over here, people, Jordan, what happens if stocks correct? What happens if stocks crash? They still had that fear of this moment, right? This moment makes an impression on people. It sticks with them in their psyche. The same way the crisis that we experienced last year as a whole, as humanity, as a population, humankind itself, that moment has scarred us. It changed us, right? It has effects. And this had a great effect on people. And, you know, when you look at this and you change your time preference, you're like, well, that was a quick recovery. You know, that was a very quick recovery. As it's unfolding in real time, that's not how it seemed at all, right? Actually, that seemed very scary. Price recovered, came all the way back down. Whoa, you know, that doesn't seem quick. That's, you know, you gotta, is that what's happening right now? I mean, quite possibly, you know, it definitely looks similar. How far back down, by the way, did we come back down and test over here? You know, from the top, let me see over here if I could measure this a little bit. Right? Look, this move from the bottom to the top. I don't know how to even measure this. Look at Jordan, just out of the groove, out of the flow, struggling to keep going, but doesn't want to leave his crew. He wants to stay in there and keep going over there. Look, this is 50% of the move. We retraced much more than 50%. I could do it this way over here. I could track down from the top down to the bottom. You know, that doesn't work either. How could I do that, folks? Could I pass over this session to Heath or Brandon so they could walk us through the rest? I would love that. Look, I'm going to just do it eyeball old school. It looks to me about 70%. This is 50% of the way down from the high over here of this bar. Price came down 50%, almost down. I would say it's about 70% right now from where we are in real time. If this is the move from the bottom to the top, this is right now so far has come down about 50%. You know, pay attention to what happens next. If the market shakes this off, that is the sign of when I say shake this off, shakes out that latest news out of China. If the market of Bitcoin shakes that off, you're looking at what most likely is probably a low of 30,000 and a pretty strong market. If the market is still shook right now, and not only, I don't know, I would like to know if we saw inflows back onto exchanges. This morning as we came on, there were comments from someone saying we're looking at inflows onto exchanges. Last I saw, we saw inflows out of exchanges. They came in, they did what they needed to do, and they got out. If we saw inflows back in, we saw the news replete, and then we see price come back down. At that point, I think the best thing to do is lean into those who have been correct. It's whoever's posting on those message boards. If they get it right twice, you want to be informed to what they're saying is happening. No question about that. We'll see. It's too soon to tell. Guys, I asked you to smash the down button over here, and now I'm looking at 200 more likes up. Oh, man. Look at this. I don't want to get, but what I want to do, or I'm going to do, is I'm going to play again a little bit of honeymoon over here, follow what's going on with some comments, and come back into it. Thank you, Thank you for the love. Thank you for smashing the thumbs down over there. I appreciate you. God love you. Man, Jersey, if you didn't do this years ago, you're way out of the game. right. I'm glad for that little break because there was some good insight shared. There was really some good insight shared by you all that we could build off over here. I'm grateful for that. Struggling today, but you know what? There was one time I ran a half marathon without training. And I was running with a friend who had trained pretty hard for it. We ran out the first like 3 or 4 miles running at a pretty fast pace. We had all that adrenaline going as the race started. We were running, I would say about like, too fast for me, not training, about 7.5 minute miles. And by mile halfway through, I just kind of bonked out. I bonked out about halfway through, 3/4 of the way through, I was struggling so hard, but I don't give up. I finished, do whatever it takes always to finish. That's how I feel here this morning, not being able to speak. Reminiscences of that time last February when my Lyme triggered, right? Remember on the live, I couldn't even say a sentence. And you remember what I did that day? You remember what I did that day? I said, you know what? I'm going to stay on here an extra hour and made sure to push through. That's who I am, and that's what I do. That signal right there over there. Listen, a couple of things I want to talk about. We're going to focus in on how the equities markets are reacting. People talking about what's going on in equities. I want to focus in on that. Before we do, a couple of things. This was pretty important over here. Narwhal Tacos. Boom. Best username ever. Narwhal Tacos. The next leg of the Wyckoff sell-off won't happen today. This is so important. Broader markets are still stable. Institutions will wait for a broad market sell-off day or a weak Sunday night Asian market open. What's important about this is what I was just trying to say. If we do see price come back down over here now, if we saw our inflows to exchanges, if we saw again message boards, 4chan being correct about another announcement coming out of China today, it happens, and then we see their game plan play out. That doesn't look like we're seeing Wyckoff accumulation phase. Because why? Because it's happening and unfolding too quickly with the pattern that we've seen being played out. Like I'm saying, they would try to take us up higher, sucker more people in here before bring it. This is not like up, down, down. This is a more of a prolonged event. Norwell Tacos, I believe, articulating that way better, completely on point. Another important comment over here is one of psychological, right? We want the bull cycle to continue, but there's a possibility it's over, right? Two things that you have to ask yourself, right? First of all, for sure, anyone that's a market participant, anyone who's been following the 4-year cycle, of course, they want it to continue. Forget the 4-year cycle. Anyone who's a Bitcoiner, invested in Bitcoin or bullish of Bitcoin, they want it to continue also. Of course. If we're looking at the top of the bull market, right, over here, and Peter Brandt walks away and he's like, suckers, I told you so. Again, he would be, I first of all, I don't only tell you, consult those who have a history of being right. That's the only people that I consult are the ones who have a history of being correct, right? And as it happens, those are those intellectual giants that have come before us. The ones that when Michael Saylor, who, by the way, was the one who called Bitcoin a pyramid scheme, and then when he educated himself, he's laid out who he's listened to. The only one who wasn't part of that group who he did consult is Lynn Alden, right? Listen to it. Lynn Alden's very clear. I think we're mid-cycle today, as is everyone else who has that immense track record of being correct. We got Masters on Chain, Willy Woo, talking about what he sees, where he sees it. Everyone believes, but is it possible that this was the cycle top? And that not only is the Bitcoin 4-year cycle broken, but the bullish case for Bitcoin over? I mean, I don't think so. I could buy, or I could get into the belief, that, listen, this time is different. We're actually entering into lengthening cycles. I don't believe that for a second. I told you by November, if I'm proven wrong, I know where I'm wrong and I know what's different. Is it a possibility that occurs, that does not take away the bullish case for Bitcoin. That only continues to make the case for the bullish case of Bitcoin, right? So listen, as far as like discounting whether or not the bullish case for Bitcoin exists, understanding what I do about money and the monetary system, it just gets more bullish each and every day. There's no question about that in my mind. Now, whether or not we continue to play out a 4-year cycle, the 4-year cycle changes its rhythm. And that would be also, by the way, if we went sideways all the way until September and then even peaked up, showing that the 4-year cycle is intact as we go into a bear market, then I would say, the 4-year cycle is still in play, but the rhythm of it has definitely changed going forward for now, for sure, right? Or if we're looking at what possibly was a peak over here, right? Understanding that the peak occurred in the double wave over here and that we're at the bottom of the shakeout, that we then recover over here and go sideways up until July. That's when I think that the latest that we would be trading back around that $64,000 area, if by August, paying attention, something's really off, but do I think there's a possibility that the bull market is over here and Peter Brandt is right? I do not. I do not think that's a possibility at all. Let's take a look at equity markets over here to see how they're reacting. Bitcoin continuing to push down, now down 7%. If you just look at it on a small time frame, by the way, let's do that. Let me jump down to a 15-minute. You can still see off the lows and come down even to a 5-minute just to see. There you go. Pushing down now lower. Pushing down now lower. Massive pain over here for Bitcoin coming off of the news out of China, right? What are equity markets doing? Yeah, S&P up. You don't have to look at them. S&P up 0.5%. Nasdaq slightly down. I do want to actually see them though, right? Because I've been watching over here, right? As we were coming in back down over here this day, this is the line. It continues to hold. As long as we're trading above this line, the bullish structure is very well in place in the equity markets. I want to see the Nasdaq over here back above. Look at this. We had a breakout of the confluence of the trend line and the horizontal line coming in for the retest right now. This is actually a beautiful place to be tracking the Nasdaq over here. As we had the breakout, we now have the retest. Always looking for that breakout retest resumption on every other market except Bitcoin and crypto during the bull market phase. And you could see over here, we're coming in for the retest right now. A resumption off of over here, very healthy. We could have equity markets making new all-time highs again very soon. Again, until we break down, that would be breaking down on the S&P below this trend line over here, resistance. We drew this in as we were coming down over here, as we were selling off, right? That wound up being where we held, and then we held it again the second time. Until this breaks, the bullish structure is very much in place, not looking for a correction to take place. The Nasdaq, who was correcting, first line of repair, second line, has now taken out the horizontal resistance, coming in for the retest right now. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to hold. That's why you wait for the resumption upwards, price making a higher high before the entry, right? It doesn't mean it's just coming in for the test. We could break down over here. We could fail. We could then lose this support. Broken resistance should hold as support and come back down into here. At that point, we would see the S&P also breaking down, coming in for a test over here. The dollar, look, you can't say that. Here we go. We got a little bit of help over here. We could draw in a little bit of a trend line over there. And we could say, the dollar's got to break above that to say that this area of support is holding. So holding with higher highs, but that's not happening yet. The dollar DXY remains under pressure. It remains under pressure while it's below this trend line over here, looking and testing this area over here of 89.43. Awesome. When I say awesome, the thumbs down are just flying. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Love it. Let me jump over to real time, see what's going on over there. We got some important meetings coming up. Jersey, there was the Fed meeting minutes were released on Wednesday. You saw the discussion, the talk being open, right? About tapering. Is the Fed being forced to taper? Go ahead and Google Zoltan zero hedge taper if you want to read up on what's going on the inner workings of the markets. You have to read and just don't take anything you read for fact, but use it to form your own opinion, right? Is it possible in the June meeting coming up next month, there's going to be further talk about the Fed pulling back or tapering? Not because they want to, because they're being forced to. We will see. Is it possible that Jackson Hole will see a policy change in August? Normally when we see big policy changes come out of that possibility. Today's too soon to be talking about that type of stuff. Zach. Look at Zach. This guy's voice is annoying. You know? Zach, man, you're the best. Zach, what has gone on in your life that you spend time being on a live stream with a guy whose voice you find annoying? You know? Zach, what's going on, brother? Like, listen, let me help you out. The first thing you can do to improve your life from where you are today is get out of this chat room. If you find someone annoying, do not spend time around them, right? Surround yourself with people that you think that could help you, could improve your state of life, you know? But if you're so focused on signal and your signal for you is that my voice is annoying, Zach, you know? Anyway, that's some fun stuff over there. I'm trying to find if there's any interesting comments over here as we've turned this into 2 hours. How about that? How about that? I have to tell you, when I woke up this morning, when I barely was able to wake up, you know, anyway, but I'm here as always. Everyone remembers a few weeks ago, right? Monday morning with fever, making sure that I am here, having one of my most fire sessions ever. And then the rest of that week, as I ran fever all week here each and every day. Yeah, whatever. Today I did not want to be here. Nevertheless, I have a commitment to you that is rock solid. I will always be here, especially when needed most. So that meant this morning, getting up and making sure we're here to talk about what needs to be talked about. And by the way, it's a beautiful session. Go back and watch the first hour. Absolutely exceptional. Very important stuff over there, right? But nevertheless, was feeling down, not able to put together sentences. And then all of a sudden we get this news out of China, Bitcoin price getting come off. Do you think I'm going to run away from you? Even if I can't even speak or put together a sentence or click a mouse? No, I'm here. You know, you could count on me always. There's no question when it's time to be there. And, you know, when the government comes against Bitcoin, you know, you're going to know someone you could count on. You're going to be standing shoulder and shoulder next to me. That's for sure. All right. Yeah, Vodka. You know, it's true. You know, I gotta get back on it for sure. No sugar, no gluten, no dairy, no joking. Yeah, Matt is asking, is this possible that this is nothing more than some big market players and coordinated manipulation? That's exactly what it looks like. You know, they took Nicholas Merton, we looked at it yesterday. He definitely was talking about the only reason this happened was because of the excess leverage in the system. That's entirely true. And that leverage has been wiped away. That's why I say this is healthy. When the leverage was reset and it was reset completely, that's healthy for going forward. But the only reason we saw this massive move down over here was because of all of those liquidations coming from the massive leverage, right? Now, were certain players able to take advantage of that? We saw the record inflows onto Binance. We then saw, after the mission accomplished, the record outflows. There was some type of manipulation that took place. Now, whether or not it was coordinated, directly going all the way up to the top of the CCP, and these news releases were I don't know. You know, Look, someone told us yesterday that today there would be another big announcement coming out of China, and then it happened again. If you're discounting that as coincidence, I think you're not paying attention. Boom, 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 boom. Have I sold? My stop loss on Bitcoin on my core position is 0. By the way, by 9,000, 9,500, I was fully positioned in with half my net worth, right? Setting that up for a long time. Using this, by the way, as an opportunity to accumulate. Am I selling my Bitcoin? No, my stop loss is 0. I understand and know, and the case for Bitcoin, and not only that, with I would say the monetary system. Now, last Friday, I told everyone, last Friday on this live stream, go back and watch last Friday's episode. I said, something's not right. I don't know what's going on. It's the first time you ever heard me say that I don't know what's going on since this channel started. I am neutral, right? Should you be neutral? Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I leaned in over here recently. Yeah, where's my trend lines? Maybe over here. I leaned in on the first repair and again on the second repair, and not fully positioned anymore or anything like that. But yeah, I believe that the low is put in. Am I aware that we could see price come down, take out that low, and whatever is happening transpire? Yep. I don't know what's going to happen. I do not have a crystal ball. There's no question about that. Did I expect that we were going to see, as we broke out over here on this repair, a news release that China has gone ahead and I'm not even fully sure what they did yet. After the stream, I'll read up on it, make sure I understand what's going on. No, that I didn't expect that. Was I aware it was a possibility? Yeah, I was aware of what was happening on 4chan last night. I was aware someone said that there was going to be an announcement out of China today. I am super interested to see how the market reacts to it today. Now, there's less leverage in the system. The leverage has been wiped out. So it's harder to push liquidations. Let me go ahead and show you when I say there's less leverage, what I'm talking about over here. I know that William this morning was sharing it, or last night, I believe it was. Let me go ahead and jump over here. You could see, how the leverage was wiped out on Wednesday. Look at it right now. It's been reset. So here you go. Here's the post that was pointed out last night. A lot has happened with, right now we're going to short Bitcoin to 25,000. It's the current target. We're still trying to knock a certain player out. Now, whether that certain player is Justin Sun, who was very close to getting $1 billion liquidation, or someone else, I have no idea. But they did say, that this was going to happen around 7 a.m., UTC, that there was going to be another announcement out of China to coordinate this. He said, expect a gradual drop to 35,000 before this really thing starts to go downhill. So is that a lot of people paying attention? A lot of people. That's what the level I pointed out to you. Would it be unrealistic to see a retest of this area right over here earlier in the stream? No. 35,000. Do a lot of people, who waded back into the market perhaps? I would be exiting. I would be exiting for sure and be waiting for the repair to get back in. But I don't know what's going to happen. Well, I'm watching. They're trying to wipe the Winklevoss. I mean, you can't wipe out the Winklevoss brothers. They own 1% of the supply, and they own that in cold storage. So there's that. That's Gregory. This is good insight over here, talking about so right now max pain is upwards though, right? Right now, any good to know options are expiring at the top of the hour. Yeah, Matt, that's good. That's true. This is, or for a long time, even in the Head Snacks video, we talk about sipping on the matcha. This is a big matcha crew over here. So Scott's asking, listen, as the market grows, will they continue to be able to manipulate the market? Right now, the Bitcoin, the corn, even right now, the Bitcoin being, I guess now it's about an $850,000 market, $800 billion market, excuse me. It was obviously, it reached the milestone of $1 trillion market. It's tiny. It's tiny when you talk about the massive amount of money in the financial markets. That's why it's so early. That's why once Bitcoin becomes a $10 trillion market, overtaking gold's market cap, it's still a young market and there's still a lot of room for growth, because then it's actually entering the big arena. Then it's actually looking for a larger share of that M1 monetary supply, M2 monetary supply. M1, sorry about that. I am all sorts of out of funk over there. Want to see that support over there from TJ. Thank you, TJ, for always being there to support everyone, being here forever. Appreciate that. Listen, Lee, I think everyone, the problem is, I heard Brandon yesterday on his live stream talking about this. Now you're going to have everyone starting to look for all these complex patterns playing out all the time. Wycliffe, listen, this is not how I do it. I'm not going to start doing that at any point in time whatsoever. The way that we do it is with the conquer the market strategy and principles, right? Trading the market off of price. Price is the only leading indicator there is. Doing it off of the market structure of support and resistance with the help of trend lines and chart patterns. Is the Wyckoff a chart pattern? Absolutely, right? This does not look anything in my, there's a 2 hour time frame I'm looking at. I'm like, what's going on? Looking at the 2 hour over there. 8 hour time frame. This is where I make my living. I will continue to do what I do because nothing is more effective. Nothing is more effective. Now, in the future going forward, a couple of things. Any one of you who see any type of distribution pattern happen in the market is going to be more aware of it. I think for me, the greatest takeaway, by the way, of what transpired over the past few months is to be a lot more keenly aware next bull market as we get mid-cycle, right? As we get approximately 3x off the last all-time high and we hit that mid-cycle range, to be a lot more keenly aware of what's going on and the consolidation that takes place, not only takes place, but for that shakeout that takes place along with it. Yeah, Jordan, it's only happened 3 times. Okay. But of the 3 cycles, it's happened 3 times. Either you want to pay attention or you don't. Well, that's true. Absolutely. Absolutely. Brandon and Heath bringing the fire all the time. Looking forward to the session today with Brandon, putting together a CTM training session. When it's going to be released, let you know quite soon. All right. There you go, Jeffrey. That's what I'm following. That's what I'm following right over there. I can't even, Jeffrey, I put it up there so everyone can read it. I don't even have the capacity at this point to read it. That's okay. I didn't want to let you go. I didn't want to let you go as this was unfolding. That's not the type of guy I am. There's no question about that. As we saw all of a sudden, an unexpected turn of events, news release, China coming out with some, I don't even know what it was. Alan let us know something to do with the Chinese and mining. Is China banning mining? I don't know that that's the case. By the way, you will see at this point in time as the rainy season approaches, lots of miners coming offline temporarily in China. That might also cause some confusion within the markets as they're like, China's coming against mining. And then you start seeing all this mining coming offline from that region. That should be very temporary. That happens every year. Lee, thanks for the support. You have no idea how tough it is. Oh, I think everyone does. Struggling to hear me even talk. But that's why I'm here. When it's tough, I'm going to be here. If all of a sudden we finished everything we set out to do, the presentation was complete, and if Bitcoin was still unchanged on the day or up a percent or two, for sure this session would have ended, a long time ago. But as things got tough, I'm going to be there for my family. I'm not letting you down. For sure, you could always count on me. And that's why we're sitting here pushing through. And that's all. And it's too soon. It's too soon. Now, do you keep in mind, you all know who I am, what type of person I am. It is true, though, that they said, or this person said, and listen, this person also said there would be an announcement out of China today. Here's the announcement outside of China today, right? But they're saying a slow push down to 35,000 before things start taking off. Be aware, don't trade off of a message board. But they've been so far this week, we have to pay attention. That's all. I'm more interested to see how price reacts, right? If price is able to recover from this type of event, this China release over here, that is a big signal of where price is going from here and that the low is in. Now, is it a possibility they able, and today or into the weekend, take out yesterday, yes. At that point, I don't think we're seeing any type of Wyckoff accumulation pattern taking place. It's too soon. It looks like market manipulation. The leverage is not there for them to play off of as it did on Wednesday. We're going to have to watch what type of on-chain inflows we saw, if there were any, and how that's playing effect. Right now, I don't know. Do we see a bear flag on the 2-hour developing? It's hard to say no to that. But listen, I'm very clear about my posture. I don't know. Are you watching? I think the 2-hour time frame is way too low of a time frame to trade, right? When I'm showing you what the market is doing on the 2-hour, it's just so you could see clearly the accuracy. 8 hours a low time frame to trade. No question signal over here though. As you see the breakout, the retest, and then the resumption right there on the 8-hour, it's a much clearer place to be trading. I don't want to, even if you see me looking at the 2-hour, trying to show you with precision where the line of repair is, I don't want to get you, or bring your time preference higher so that you're more focused on the 2-hour. That's not my intent. I don't think that you should be doing that. Deep Hour saying that was not just some random release out of China. It was a pre-scheduled financial stabilization meeting. Look at that. Possibly some good clarity over there. There was another massive liquidation. People already leveraged up. It's way too soon. It's way too soon to be getting leveraged up. Michael, you're just going to want to watch the replay. The first hour of the replay, important stuff shared over there. Jan, thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Are we ready to go? Are we ready to call it a session over here? That's it right there for sure. Regardless of what you see happening next, regardless of you're looking at, you believe that all of a sudden the 4-year cycle is broken, we're entering into lengthening cycles. Well, then if that's what you think, and you think we're looking at Bitcoin at 100,000 in 2022, well, then right here, you're looking to continue to dollar cost average, and you're going to be so happy if you have the opportunity for price to even come back down towards 20,000. Now, I don't think that's happening. I really don't think that's happening. If that's happening, something drastically has changed. And by the way, if you look at other different market participants, we looked at the conversation earlier in the week of Luke Groman, macro master, Lynn Alden, macro master, right? Led by Travis. And they're all saying, listen, I don't think we're going to see any, volatility to the downside, because I think that's going to be absorbed by this money that we're looking at. Well, that because of the leverage, we saw a massive spike down, an anomaly occur. This was manipulation mixed with leverage, right? Now, if you think that this is going to, all of a sudden lead us to a period where we come out of that and go sideways for a prolonged time, I think you're wrong. I think what happens is a recovery over here. Now, the question, that remains to be seen, and I'm going to pull it up over here, understanding that you're here, we recover out of here, is how long we stay in that range. When's the next time we break to new all-time highs? Whether that is, there are a few options, July or August, August on the later side, that would be a very long consolidation. We've already been consolidating for 3 months. If we consolidate for another 3 months, something is definitely weird and off. I don't foresee that consolidation happening at the bottom of the spike down. That didn't happen over here. We didn't consolidate at the bottom of the spike down. It didn't happen over here. We don't consolidate off the bottom of the spike down. Yes, it's not the same, but it definitely rhymes, and it's been rhyming so closely. If you're not paying attention and you're wondering how I've kept everyone on the right side, especially when, you were thinking, I should sell at $13,000, $14,000, and I'm making it abundant. If you thought at 19,000, that was the place to be. And I'm like, no. And then the only way that I've been able to do that is following the rhyming of the past cycle behavior. Now, what probably happens, right, is some type of recovery. And then how long we consolidate coming out of the last one, we consolidated a little while. Do we expect a little longer this time? Perhaps. Coming out of this one, we also consolidated, right, a while. It would be very different nature of the market, of the 4-year cycle, and the price patterns that play out over and over again for price to consolidate at lower levels, right? And if that happened and price was trading sideways through November, at that point, we've entered a super cycle. We've entered lengthening cycles. Everything is different, and we will be sure to consult those who got it right. There's no question about that. Thank you, Jason. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for your beautiful heart, Jason, for all of everyone's thoughts and prayers as we get close here. I don't know if I told you. I think I told you earlier in the session. Next appointment's on Tuesday. If we make it that long, but we're getting close. And thank you for that. Thank you for that beautiful, beautiful sentiment and love. Appreciate that. Right? All right, everyone. I'm gonna go make myself an espresso, get some water, and then come back and follow what's going on in Discord. Thanks for spending the time together. Yeah, look, I remember the last time was the capitulation of 6,000. I remember it very well. Well, one of the births, I should say, for sure. Well, here we are right now together. Thank you, everyone, for spending this time. It's easy to spend the time together when I'm spitting fire and it comes easy and it's, and it's fun. But you know what? Life is a flow of ebbs and flows, of peaks and valleys. And being able to get through these type of times together when it's a struggle, right? That's what makes it. That's what it's all about over there. Thanks, everyone, for being here with me. Listen, be cautious out there. Stay safe. We're under pressure right now. That could continue. That could build. The low over here is still in play. No question, market manipulation could very much be at play right now. Be very careful out there. Do not take risks. Wait for the repair. Yes, for me, myself, this was the first sign of repair. I myself got involved. I'm ready to exit if all of a sudden things are shaky. Because for me, on Bitcoin, $3,000, $5,000, my time preference is much higher. I know that as we get towards whatever, whether it's a double wave, starting in September, October, whether or not, either which way, we're going to start seeing moves on Bitcoin, of $10,000 and $20,000 a day. It's coming either in September or October. I'm telling you right now, be ready for it. I'll make sure that I'm positioned well. All right. Thank you, everyone. May God bless you. Have a beautiful weekend. I'll be recording with Brandon later. I'll let you all know when that's being released, and we'll make sure that we're all there together to watch it for that training session. You all are so wonderful, always so mindful of the dedication and the work that the moderators put in. What a special, special, special part of this community they are. So thankful for them. Why not thank them again myself? Again, when we look at mission control, right, we got all of them. We got all of them up front and center over here. All the moderators making sure everything continues. Spot on. You guys are the best. Thank you for walking through this session with me. Thank you for that. Listen, when it's easy and it's good, then it's a pleasure, to be a part of it and to watch it. When it's not, and it's a struggle even to say a sentence, that, man, you guys are just so supportive. Thank you for even, for me and from my perspective, it was horrific. Not the important part with the presentation in the first hour, such important information shared. But, thank you. And a big hug to all of you. Thank you for walking, helping me through the finish line today, because it wasn't easy at all. And I just thank you for your support. You're all fantastic. You're all great. Luke is a baby boy. The youngest two are boys surrounded by a bunch of girls. And we're grateful for it. All right, everyone. Lots of love. I'll see you all later. I'll be talking to you right now on the Discord. And that's it, I'm glad I made it. I'm glad I made it to the finish line, almost didn't this time, but here we are, 2 hours, 33 minutes. making sure when it's the hardest to give the most. And that's who we are. And that's what we do over there. All right. Watch out. Be careful out there. Do not take excessive risks. You want to make sure when things have shown themselves to be looking better to get back in. By the way, I talked about above 53,000 as going to be a place where a lot of people who got themselves sidelines are going to be coming back in and it's much safer to be buying Bitcoin, by the way, at 55,000 than it is right here at $37,000 today. Now, depending on what your time preference is, right? Now, if you're buying Bitcoin and you're like, I believe in lengthening cycles, and in 2022, I know we're going to be much higher than this, then of course Bitcoin's on sale right now, right? That's not how I do it, obviously. Well, you all know how I do it. I make that abundantly clear all the time. All right, everyone. How about that? Lots of love. I'll talk to you soon.